Let's talk about it. Cuba. What once was a beautiful island just 90 miles off the coast of the US has sadly devolved into one of the worst dictatorships known to man. It all began with the assault on Moncada barracks on July 26, 1953, and ended on January 1st, 1959, when Batista was driven from the country. The cities of Santa Clara and Santiago de Cuba were seized by the communist revolutionaries led by Che Guevara and Fidel Castro. That moment sent everything into a downward spiral. But who were Che and Fidel? Che has become a fashion statement, like he's some kind of superhero. Look online and you'll find hundreds, if not thousands, of mugs, shirts, posters. But he wasn't a hero. He was a man who oversaw executions without trial and believed in silencing all opposition. That's not freedom, that's fear. And Fidel? He came to power promising justice and dignity, but instead delivered decades of fear, poverty, and oppression. Under his rule, critics were jailed, freedoms were stripped, and families were torn apart. He didn't build Cuba, he crushed it under the weight of state control. Cuba was once called the Pearl of Antilles, a cultural and economic hub filled with music, architecture, nightlife, booming trade. But today, crumbling buildings, food shortages, power outages, also called apagones, a people robbed of their voice. My grandfather lived through all this. He told our family how the communists promised equality, but only delivered oppression. They took his farm, his pigs, his animals, everything he had for the good of the people. But the truth? They took it for themselves. All property went straight to the hands and bank accounts of the Castros. But some might call me out and say that Cuba is not a communist state because mipymes exist. Mipymes are what the regime calls small businesses. But here's what they don't tell you. You need approval from the Ministry of the Economy. You're banned from strategic fields like education, defense, mining, or healthcare, meaning you can't open a hospital. You can't open a school, nothing. You must work closely with the dictatorship. You're expected to snitch on your neighbors if they speak out, and you must stay silent about the atrocities committed, unless you want your entire business taken away. But what about social media? Surely us Cubans can speak out there, right? Yes and no. The only voices you often hear are in Miami because in Cuba, the regime controls the internet. Websites are blocked, social media is monitored, and if you post anything critical, even online, you can be arrested or worse. Going back into a little bit of history, here's Operation Peter Pan. Thousands of children, aged normally 12 through 18, were sent away, alone, because their parents didn't want them indoctrinated by the regime, and yet, the exodus still continues. Cubans flee every year on rafts through jungles across borders. Why? Because they can't even eat these days. 89% of the population lives under the extreme poverty line. The other 11%, mostly communists and their relatives. No power, no food, no running water, crumbling buildings around them. This isn't just poverty, it's survival. 20 years ago, my father escaped. He swam a mile from a boat to an island with not a single penny to his name. If he had stayed, he'd likely be starving during un apagon, one of the many power blackouts where you only get electricity for 1 or 2 hours a day, so normally you can't even turn on the TV when you want. Now, I won't go into every detail due to privacy concerns, but after 20 years in a capitalist country, the USA, he has what only my grandfather could dream of in Cuba. A good job, food on the table, a small farm, 2 kids playing, not hungry, animals in the back. All because he had the freedom to work for it. That's the difference. That's it. In a free country, if you work hard, you can build something. In Cuba, good luck. So I implore you, listen to the voices of our people. Be glad if the regime falls. Don't buy cheap merchandise. Don't fall for the lies of the Cuban government. Thank you for watching. That's all I have to say.